Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. Today we are talking about how to become the showrunner, tips on writing and producing your own production. Okay, so if you all have ever thought about what it's like to be a showrunner, I want to talk a little bit about reframing your mindset around looking at yourself as a showrunner. So one of the things I've really been thinking about lately is the idea of how to manifest the career that you want. And that really means reframing your mindset and your idea around television and how to be in television in general. So in my How to Be a Showrunner's Assistant video, I talked about how the showrunner is basically the one making the decisions from everything from pre-production through post-production. But I think as COVID is happening and quarantine is happening and the world is shifting, I think it's really important to adjust our mindset and to, really adjust our way of thinking and how we look at things. So I mean that it's time to look at yourself as a showrunner. And this will be really good practice for anyone who is interested in becoming a showrunner in television and really getting to the big leagues. If you start small and you start thinking about it from working with your own productions, it starts to change your mindset that you can become a showrunner and that you can also manage a larger show when that opportunity arises. So I want to take a look at the short that I wrote and produced called In Pursuit, and the link is on my channel. I will also put a link down below in the description box so you guys can watch it. But basically it was my first time ever putting together a production by myself from start to finish, and in retrospect I didn't realize it then, but I realize it now. I was the showrunner of that production. This was a labor of love for so many reasons. I was scared out of my mind. I did not know what I was doing. And it was part of a contest and a challenge, and I was just trying to see if I could really do it, to be honest. So this short was part of an NBC drama contest that I had applied for a little while ago. And part of it was you had to shoot a 10 to 15 minute short film, or basically a TV show idea, just to give them a kind of proof of concept for the type of television show that you wanted to create. It starts with a script. Everything starts with a script. So whatever your idea is, if you already have a script that's written, if it's a web series, if it's a short, it's already, if it's something that's already written, you have in a drawer somewhere, pull it out. That's something that can become your production and your proof of concept. I had no idea what I was doing. No idea what I was doing. And then I broke it down and I realized, okay, I am responsible for everything. And I'm responsible for managing pre-production, production, and post-production. So I'm going to break down those three things and basically tell you what I did and how you can do it too if you have your own personal project. So the bulk of my work, to me, it felt like everything was in pre-production, right? This was a lot of planning. So it starts with the script. So I dusted off my script. I did some rewrites. I got some notes and feedback from friends. And basically when I realized the script was in a good place, I was like, okay, this is great. Now I am ready to move on to actually trying to shoot this thing. So typically when you have a script, you would have other writers that you're working with that's helping to rewrite, to break the story, to come up with scenes and characters and all of that. I had none of that. I was by myself in a room, which I was okay with, but just know that the initial process of just writing the script is going to be probably a very solo activity that you're doing in a room by yourself, and that's okay. Well, I didn't have the slightest idea on how to go about making a production, filming a production, hiring for a production, any of that. So I started from scratch and I said, okay, I have to look at my budget. How much money do I actually have to shoot to shoot this pilot, to shoot a film, to shoot a short, a web series, whatever? And let me tell you, I didn't have anything. Okay, I was broke. Now, in the real world, like on a real television show, you have line producers, you have production managers, you have people who help to organize the budget. You know what the network is going to give you. You have all of those things. In your small production, you have yourself. So what I did is I put together an Excel sheet, and I did some research on what I needed a production to have. So that was, I needed a cast, which means I needed to have castings. I needed a crew. I needed an editor, a DP, a director, gaffers, lighters, producers, makeup artists, stylists. Like, the list goes on and on and on. And I made a very, very top line budget of what I could do to get this production done. Now, at the time, I was able to come up with $1,000. Okay, $1,000 for an entire production. I was very strapped for cash. And being strapped for cash, I had to be very mindful of what needed to be outsourced versus what I could do myself. The good news is you can minimize a lot of your costs today by doing a lot of the things yourself. You have to identify your team. Part of pre-production is working with reliable people, working with people you trust, identifying people who have the same vision as you, and connecting with them. So typically a showrunner is responsible for hiring all of these people. So if you have any friends that you love working with or any people who you are very close to and you trust, definitely reach out to them and see if they can help you with this production, because having people who you know have the same vision as you and who will work towards the same goal as you is critical when you are coming up with a production. The next part of pre-production is finding talent. You're gonna have to make sure that you break down your script into sides, and sides are just pieces of the script for different characters that the talent is gonna read on a casting call. Now, of course, with everything going on, there is a bigger possibility that you're gonna have virtual casting, but that actually might be better. I actually think that's a great way to go if you're gonna get your production started and find people quickly. The next thing you need to keep in mind is locations. So where are you gonna be shooting things? You're gonna have to go location scouting. And again, I refer back to, there will be a location manager when you actually start working in television, and that's not something that you will necessarily have to handle. But you being a one-man, one-woman shop, you're gonna have to drive around a little bit, find places for cheap that you can shoot or minimally expensive. Keep in mind any place that needs permits where you're gonna need to shoot. Keep in mind any place where you have to pay to shoot. If you have a family member or friend, which is what I did, I used my cousin and my aunt and I used their apartments to shoot, do that. Keep your costs low or as low as possible and do what you have to do to make it work. Okay, so my light just died and my phone just died, so there might be a little bit of a jump cut, but here we go. So the next part of pre-production is finding your crew. So this is going to be really important. Finding the people who are going to work with you on set is super critical to having a good production and to making sure things run smoothly. Now, in the real world, again, as if you're working for a larger television show, you'll have someone who's going to be funneling resumes to you, and the showrunner, they'll make a decision on who to bring in based on these resumes and then hire from there. And you are essentially doing the exact same thing, but just on a smaller scale. So you're going to be promoting your production via Craigslist, mass email lists, social media, like however you put yourself out there. That's what you're going to be doing to attract people to your production and get resumes that you can go through so you can decide who's good for you, the crew that's good for you, and all of those good things. But that's very important in pre-production. So the second big part of this is the production itself. So you are going to be working closely with your director and with your EP to get a lot of scheduling done around when you want to shoot, how you want to shoot, and everything in between. So you are going to be sending out emails for table reads. You're going to be getting the cast and the crew together for production meetings. You are going to be essentially running these meetings in tandem with each other and making sure that everybody's on the same page. In a production meeting, you're making sure that the crew has everything they need, any questions that they need answered about locations, props, styling, makeup. You're the one who's going to be answering those questions just based on the script. If it's a table read, you are going to be the one responsible for getting the cast together, to making sure that they work together, they sound the way you want the script to sound. They riff off of each other and they know each other and they're comfortable with each other. So all of these things help to make sure the production, when it comes to the actual day of shooting, make sure that it flows smoothly. And then, of course, the biggest thing for production is actually the shoot days. So shoot days, it's gonna be crazy. In a large television show, the showrunners are typically on set. They're working directly with the actors, the actresses. They're working with the producers, the director, hand in hand to make sure that the shoot is going well. They are mitigating any problems that are coming up. They are thinking about all these things, and they're making sure, of course, the actors and actresses are where they need to be, and they're acting, and they are, you know, showing up their full selves and being the best people that they can be to fulfill the needs of you for your script. So shooting days are chaotic. They are long. I'm talking 12-hour days. Now, of course, if it's your own personal production and based on how much you have to shoot and how many days you want to shoot, of course, that can be shorter or longer. But, you know, it's definitely something to keep in mind because you're going to be busy. You are going to be super busy. Give yourself a pat on the back if you have made it this far. That means things are still going well. You have not died. You have not overspent yourself. You are not homeless. Everything is going to be okay. So the last part of this is post-production, and post-production is my favorite part, I would say, because that means your shoot and your production days are wrapped. Your cast has gone home. You are now working with your editor, music supervisor, director to review cuts, to plug any holes, to do the music, to, you know, essentially make your film come together as a film. So that is a really exciting part. You get to see everything that you shot, and you get to really craft it on screen and see how it's going to come out. And this is a really important part of the process, of course, because it's the final part, but it's also the part where you get to really sit back and be grateful that you made it through. Okay, now typically in a larger TV network, or I should say larger studio or a larger production, you will be doing pre-production simultaneously with production itself. So while you might be shooting a TV show, or I'm sorry, while you might be shooting an episode, you also be editing another episode. So it kind of gets a little hectic. It can be a little chaotic. But hopefully with your own production, you have the timeline and you have the time to really focus on each one at a time. So it's pre-production, then you're focusing on production, and then you're focusing on post-production. So once that is completed and you have your full film, that is when you celebrate and you drink. Just kidding. Once your film is done, you are done. Your job is done, and you can sit back and be happy and celebrate what you've learned, who you've talked to, just your success of being a showrunner in that space, and know that you have prepared yourself for when you get to the big leagues and when you're managing multi-million-dollar budgets, and everything will flow because you've already had experience doing it on a smaller scale. So that's it. Although the process seems very daunting, you can definitely do it. I mean, the whole idea is that in general, if you're trying to manifest a larger career and you're trying to really put yourself in the space of, I could be a showrunner, but it just seems so far away, to start small and start with the things that you know and who you know and working with the people that you know. So when you get to that larger level, you already have an idea of how it goes, and you are prepared, and you have already mastered the mindset to creating greatness for yourself. You know what I mean? So anyway, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to try to become your own showrunner. Don't be afraid to change your mindset and to reframe how you're thinking about looking at television and how you're thinking about these productions. Everything that you want to do is within yourself. Everything that you want to create is in yourself. And I would say, guys, of course, if you are going from home to Hollywood, just remember, you got this. I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye.